Oh my gosh. You know, there's a thing called Murphy's Law. Anything bad that can happen will happen. And the worst just occurred to me. I got about 5 minutes into a video before I realized I wasn't recording, which, here, let me triple check to make sure I'm recording. Okay, I'm recording and my mic is on. So yeah, welcome back to the Skywalker Saga. This has been very, very fun to record so far. So if you'll notice, this game looks a lot more vibrant, more colorful. And the reason is, I had this game on HDR mode this entire time. Now, why would I do such a thing? Without HDR on, this game is ridiculously, like, bright in my eyes. If I didn't get this under control, I honestly was debating having to wear sunglasses for this episode. It's about time to get back into this. I think the other funny thing I've had when it comes to technicalities is that every time I load up the Skywalker Saga, I have to do a... Oh, yeah, because I did, start this movie already. Do not tell me this game broke on me already. No. There should be a text crawl here. I can skip, but there's no text crawl. Are you kidding me? You can't be serious, game.
How have you known that my father looks nothing like that infantile bitch? Why, not hasty enough to be Mama Hux?
The cutscene got cut off and I'm annoyed. Poe Dameron drew Hux's mother, which is a bit more savage than what he did in the movie. And then Poe also killed the cameraman. Okay, what did Poe just do? I was not paying attention. This is already off the rails. I apologize. This actually just a triple check. Okay, I'm still recording and my mic is still on. That's great.
Torpedo time, that's right.
Wait, I need torpedoes? Oh gosh, that game lagged on me hard for a second. Am I getting kamikazed by these TIE interceptors? This entire playthrough is off the handles already.
Take that ridiculous thing off. You're just a child.
Oh no, he's high. Alrighty, that was a killer start. I think the only thing to note from that mission that I didn't get in gameplay was that Poe started the mission by almost killing the cameraman, breaking the fourth wall, and he also did a crude drawing of Hux's mother, which, again, that's a step in savagery from the movie I didn't expect from this game.
We'll find you a jacket and some pants. There's gotta be a closet around here.
Yeah, but Fenn is still strapped, I guess. I don't know. He's allowed to have a gun for some reason. Oh, I realize I have rainbow blasters on. I need to turn that off. Poor companion stays on, though. You know, if there was any video to have a poor companion in, it would be this one. Oh, boy. I really am scared for what's coming next, because if that opening is any indicator, I'm going to be in the ringer. The Last Jedi is a bit of a different style video, I'm going to be honest, because I think The Force Awakens, I had to go around establishing what I initially thought of the characters, but this movie's a lot more controversial because of its choices. So I feel like I have to spend more of this video addressing that. I defend this film, and I'd like to believe within reason, but obviously, the comments will let me know if that's the case.
It's a...
This moment. This is the most awkward moment in the whole film, because... Okay, that's funny, but you have to understand how awkward of a moment this is, especially since this was 1 year after Carrie Fisher's passing. This was so awkward, but I don't blame her.
Holdo.
I don't blame these movies for how they treated... oh, okay. We're going through all the colors now.
Thank you, Commander.
Let's grab a pod from the hangar.
You're not gonna zap me this time, right?
I'm not ready to joke about that yet.
You didn't even get zapped in this version. They're really just abridging the plot of this movie to heck and back. To some point, to some extent, I do understand, because this movie was 3 hours long. They have to cut a bunch of stuff down. But, like, they are blazing through this opening act. So I think the biggest question, did Rian Johnson ruin Star Wars? No. I don't agree with that, and I don't understand where that sentiment came from. It's one thing to call this movie bad, but I just think if this movie was enough to ruin Star Wars, is Star Wars really that special of a franchise? Like, you're telling me after how many installments, the 8th one is the unlucky number? Because keep in mind, people have said George Lucas ruined Star Wars with the special editions. Some people have gone on to say some of the other shows ruined Star Wars. And while, again, you don't have to agree with every single thing this movie does, or even a single thing, right? I just think the sentiment that Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars with this one movie is very dismissive and very just silly as a sentiment. I'm just saying. If Rian Johnson doesn't understand Star Wars or ruin Star Wars, then, you know, did the spin-off comics really understand Star Wars since they weren't George Lucas as well? Sure, some of the older EU stuff was officially on a timeline, right? But I still think Disney discontinuing EU, making it Legends, whatever, and doing their own stuff, I don't think that truly diminishes the original continuity, in a way. Even though I don't like the sentiment of people writing off the sequel trilogy in general, just because at least the way I see it framed on social media, it's kind of like the, oh, if I just close my eyes, it doesn't exist. I think that sentiment can be silly in its own right. But it's like, yeah, no, you shouldn't let this movie really ruin your perception of Star Wars too much. Again, there's a lot to be said about the Disney things, but like, those other things still exist. Those spin-off comics, those spin-off shows that you enjoy, they're still there. If they're acknowledged by you, that should be more than enough, right? I guess if I had to do any more character introductions as well, I guess I'd have to do Holdo. Yeah, I don't like Holdo. I get her point, right? I think what really went wrong with The Last Jedi, at least from its plot, is that this movie fringes on a lot of ideas that are just so inherently foreign to Star Wars. Them running low on fuel, totally just, like, why would that be a major plot point in this film? And it makes, like, a good part of the Resistance base just kind of stay still in space when it could have been something more exhilarating. And Poe's arc as well of just having to follow orders. The average person is not in the military, right? There's a disconnect. There's gonna be some people who are like, Poe should have followed orders because good soldiers follow orders or whatever. And there's gonna be people like, no, Poe clearly knows what's going on, and Holdo refuses to tell anyone the plan. She's obviously gonna start a mutiny. Because it could be easy to say, hey, there's a mole on board, or hey, we really can't trust you. And Poe did need to learn his lesson about being reckless. His opening act, while cool with the ships, he needed to be reprimanded for that. He needed to be court-martialed, basically. I get why it may just sound weird, because it goes into a bunch of stuff that was never really considered in Star Wars. And I won't pretend like Rian Johnson did the best way of making that seem kind of more in line with what we're used to. It just definitely sounds more like a semantical thing to base some of the conflict around. I do think there's a lot in this film that does work that people just unfairly criticize, though unfortunately we're not onto those parts. But yeah, no, Holdo is a very polarizing character. I don't really like her too much because she kind of isn't entertaining and she's just kind of annoying, but whatever. At least her defining moment is at the end or whatever. She gets a redemption in quotation marks. I will say the Canto Bight theme for the casino, one of the most underrated songs in all of Star Wars. It's a shame nobody talks about it because it's easily one of the best like arrangements of the Cantina theme ever, especially because I think the Cantina theme's a bit overrated. Oh, no card or anything? Oh, there we are. Alrighty. Well, since we're on Canto Bight, I guess I can address the obvious about this plot as well. Is it also my favorite? No, but I do not think it's the worst thing ever. It could be better, definitely. I like the idea, you know, showing the whole, there's a lot more put into the rebellion, into the First Order. There's people, there's benefactors who will benefit one or the other, or both if it's to their own benefit. Was Finn's arc bad, though? I have to disagree. Finn needed a lesson. All of our main leads needed a lesson into what it means to truly be a leader or a hero. Now, again, did these movies do the best job? Did this movie do the best job of that? I don't know. This is the only movie I end up rewatching after seeing it once in theaters. That was still a long time ago. So I can't pretend to remember all the plot details one-to-one, but I will not pretend that I remember this fondly. Are you gonna put that acorn in, buddy? Are you stuck? There you go. What is there to glide to over here? Oh, right, that. Finn is, Rey is now canon. Finn was on Canto Bight with Rey all along. Not Rose, which, jokes aside, I have to address the Rose-sized elephant in the room. Rose. I didn't necessarily dislike her character. I do think she needed to be there to kind of put Finn in his place. As much as people want Poe to be with him on this side quest, and it maybe would have, again, it would have sparked their chemistry a bit more. Finn needed someone who could really kick him in a gear, because all Poe did in The Force Awakens was kind of egg him on. Which, not bad, but, like, obviously, you need someone to call you on your nonsense. And while Maz kind of did that in The Force Awakens, Rose needed to properly do that. Obviously, her execution is... I don't dislike her character necessarily, I just think she was really rough around the edges when it came to her dialogue. And also her crush on Finn, because that started like a whole... That kind of added to a weird love square. No, that's insulting to all bad romances out there. This was just a weird love triangle. Rose having a crush on Finn, we just all knew it wasn't gonna lead to much. And, like, again, he already had a thing for Rey. I just kind of think throwing Rose into that mix was whatever. Not to say I don't ship them. Actually, I don't think I ever did ship them, I'm gonna be honest. But, like, they could have made it work. I just don't think it was a good idea to make these two romanceable. I'm kind of beating around the bush as to what my main thing I have to say about Rose is. Her actress, Kelly Marie Tran, did not deserve an ounce of criticism for her portrayal in this movie. Because there was a lot of people who came at her with some really hateful rhetoric after the movie came out. And those people are shameful. Those people are crazy. She should be able to just do her role fine. And not to say you can't criticize an actor or an actress's performance, because I know there's definitely been more of a push to kind of shift blame onto the director for poor performances. Like, a lot of people criticized Hayden Christensen as Anakin, but a lot of people attribute that to George Lucas's direction instead in retrospect. I mean, you can still say it wasn't a good performance, but there's a difference between criticizing a performance and then just throwing the most hateful stuff that generally affects these people. There's a lot more instances that I'm gonna list, but, you know, Kelly Marie Tran did not deserve an ounce of hate for this performance, like Moses Ingram, like John Boyega, like Jake Lloyd, like Ahmed Best, like Billy D. Williams, as well as the entire cast of The Acolyte. None of these people deserved hate just for doing a job, especially when it's something unrelated to their performance. People who are like that are nuts and should not be allowed the time of day. Star Wars fans get a bad rap for stuff like this. Like everything, it's not always all of them, but it's like, when it happens, I mean, it just seems in line, you know? It's such a shame I have to say it like that, because in a way it's friendly fire. I still identify as a Star Wars fan, but, you know, after seeing all this stuff, it's like, oh wait, I've been trying to jump out of bounds. You know, it's like, of all the hobbies I've had, I think one of the ones I've had to hide in recent years that I'm a Star Wars fan, because with behavior like this, I mean, come on. I think I got scatterbrained with this whole thing. Let me just redo one of my plot points to make sure I'm not going crazy. So yeah, Finn truly needed to learn to be more selfless and care more for the cause, because at the end of The Force Awakens, he only really cared for Rey. Sure, he helped people along the way, but when he got to Starkiller Base when I was rewatching, the only thing he said was, I'm only here to save Rey. I'm like, dude, are you serious? This movie really needed to happen where Finn and the rest of our leads need to be kind of matured or humbled. It's kind of what this quote-unquote second act low point is supposed to do. Kind of like how Dagobah was meant to kind of show, while Luke's optimism is great, he is impulsive and reckless, which could lead to his turning to the dark side, you know? Yeah, I guess oh, come on. Oh, what the? Oh, look at you, so scared. Are you just gonna beat up Rose the entire time and ignore me? Come on, Rose, you got this. I believe in you. No, I don't. You're gonna die. I killed her instead. Where are y'all coming from? There we go. McClunky. Why is Finn getting stuck on everything? If there's one thing I do appreciate this film for, it has to be the the motifs it has, you know, with Finn and Rose's theme. I really like that. Battle of Crate is probably one of my favorite Star Wars songs from the sequel era. Like, there's just a lot of solid stuff here.
A red plum bloom? I mean, that's so last cycle.
You know, for all the dialogue this game has, I love that it still stays consistently within Star Wars logic, because cycle is, I think, a year? They could have easily said last year, but they put last cycle. Sweet of them.
Ichuma Danaga. Chispabukupa.
Looks like he's not gonna let us through.
Then we'll have to find another way in.
What are you doing? Oh, come on. Let me in. Oh. How did you push Rose? Well, that's our way. Wait, I didn't think killing him was a way to get in here. I honestly thought he'd be invincible.
All right, you two are under arrest for parking violation 2017.
I domed a man in the head, and they get me for a parking violation. Oh, Canto Bight.
Me and the First Order codage go way back.
Oh, DJ. DJ is a character who exists. Look, my main thing is, like, was the stutter meant to genuinely be representation of people who have something akin to Tourette's syndrome? Or was that for comedic effect? I never got it. I forget that this is a Lego game. I'm like, where's my commentary on War Bad?
Oh boy, I'm gonna do me a whole bunch of new crimes.
Attaboy. And we don't have the protocol droid. Wait a minute. If I bomb, where's that other thing I had before? There we go. Now where's that gonk droid? Gonk. You're needed, buddy. You know, I will say, I've always kind of had a taste for unpopular opinions / movies. I say that because my favorite Indiana Jones movie is Temple of Doom. It's not a super uncommon opinion, but that's still something you don't hear a lot of people say. A lot of people say Raiders or Last Crusade. But yeah, no, Canto Bight overall, they abridged that so much quicker than I imagined.
Master Skywalker!
Alright, a lot of my notes were spared for when we got to this part. What do we have here? Luke was not ruined by this movie. This is an opinion many people have, if the social media gaslighting has shown me, because Luke is kind of just stuck here and he doesn't want to join. But yeah, my general thing with Luke is that, sure, he's optimistic and sees the best in everyone, but he is, at his heart, a reckless person. So him attacking Kylo, sure, it may sound out of character, but he did relent and be like, oh, that was a bad idea. It just, unlike Darth Vader, he kind of did it too late. And as a result, he had to pay the price. I can definitely see it, especially because in Return of the Jedi, Luke does almost kill Vader because he almost let the hate flow. He can definitely slip to the dark side, fully succumb to it. That's a different story, and he definitely didn't in any of these movies. I think the one thing I do want to note is kind of like, it makes sense for Luke to become a hermit and not return from Ahch-To after leaving, because if you really think about it from multiple angles, it doesn't make sense why he would come here and then suddenly rejoin the fight when the first person asked. The Sith / First Order wasn't really powerful when he left, right? Or at least, not as much as it is now. He wasn't really at risk of much of being assassinated. If he did want to be found, I'm pretty sure he would leave the map to a trusted confidant, like R2, who has most of the files, or I don't know, his own sister Leia. This man clearly didn't want to be found. It just so happened that R2 holds the key to all, and then the piece BB-8 got, which for some odd reason just is chilling on Jakku. But Luke being this jaded old man after all this time, it can make sense. 30 years, or however long it was between Return of the Jedi and now, that's a long time for someone to change. Have you never met someone who just matured or became like a different person over time? I think that happens to everybody. But enough talking about Luke, let's actually talk to Luke.
Please, stop following me.
That little grin he had, I think he's happy to be followed. It's over for you, Master Skywalker. Oh, he's in... Oh, he... I did not...
Why don't you hear what I have to say?
Look, you seem like a nice kid, but I'm not interested.
I did not think Luke was going to chide Rey for that. That's hilarious. Sorry, I got a quadruple check. Am I recording with the mic on? I am recording with the mic on. Porgs are invincible. I should have guessed. I remember when Porgs were such a big thing when they came out. They were really pushing the Porg merchandise. And a lot of people probably got annoyed with it because it's, you know, blatant marketing tactic. I mean, at least Porgs didn't truly affect the plot. You can't be too mad at that, you know? It's not like the Gungans or like the Ewoks where they're very important. Porgs are just there. They have this scene. Oh boy.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
I think that's a different pronunciation from how she did it in the title theme. Oh. I feel like whenever I see people talk about Luke, they always bring up what he does in Legends. I won't pretend I've read any of Legends or really experienced much of the spin-off content aside from the Disney Plus shows and Clone Wars and whatnot. I just never saw Luke that way, the same these people did, but it seems like he's a more idealized action hero in those comics. I could be wrong, but that's just my general observation from what I've heard. He was probably cool there, but he was never really a part of the movie canon. Like, say what you will about how Luke acts in this film, he never really acted in the same way he did in the comics as he does in the movies, right? Or the original trilogy, excuse me. It feels like this idealized Luke, worshipping Luke as such, feels like a... I don't know how to describe it. It just sounds like a dangerous precedent to just kind of look at Luke that way. As this movie goes on to say, that version of Luke truly never existed, nor was it truly promised. I know, again, that a lot of the original Legends books exist on an official timeline, but anything that's fictional can change, you know what I mean? With all the critiques I'm giving towards people who have, well, critiques for this movie, you're allowed to like and dislike whatever you want. You truly don't need many reasons to play a game or to watch a movie or truly experience anything. But I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans now, again, the vocal ones you hear, they truly just don't seem to like Star Wars anymore. And it's like, why are you still here? If you truly have stopped liking everything that comes out, just, I know it sounds silly to say, but like, just find something new to enjoy. I know for me, one thing I was really big into when I was younger was Call of Duty Zombies, and it was a lot of fun, and I kept up with the storyline. And the storyline went a lot of places, and it ended like 3 different times, and it just kept on going and going. And once they started changing the gameplay too drastically, and story just kept going directions I didn't really care for, I didn't go online and complain about how Treyarch or Activision is ruining my game. I just went, okay, well, this isn't for me, gotta find something else. And then the Persona series, my beloved, I think was the next thing I got hooked onto. I don't mean to dismiss people who truly want to see this series go be better in the future, but it's like, you don't have to subject yourself to this stuff if you truly don't enjoy it. And I think some people need to realize that. Ooh, spooky. Oh, I see, this isn't a reflection. You're not copying me. Oh, that's low-key kind of creepy. Oh. Oh, we getting one of these puzzles? Oh, heck yeah. I actually oh. I actually really like this segment. Obviously not the most complicated thing ever, but I think a lot of people enjoy these types of puzzles. That was cute. Oh, we gotta fight Luke. Now. Oh. Oh, Luke. You simple man. It's over. What? Oh, how'd you get up here?
Did you do it?
Get off. I have the height. Luke is stuck in the... Oh, wait. He wasn't in the wall. He just got thrown in a window.
I feel the conflict in you. It's tearing you apart.
My conscience is clear.
No, you still hurt.
There's Porgs.
I feel it.
Oh, wait a minute. Whatever, I have to turn to Kylo.
So, I mean, my lord.
They have it out for... Oh, wait, these guys are just fighting each other. Make up your mind. Alrighty, what's in here? The obligatory sidetrack moment.
What are we doing here?
An impromptu health inspection.
They have you doing all the important stuff then?
Well, I didn't think you'd have dialogue if you went off base. That's really funny.
We're done here.
Finally.
Again, you can never make me hate this game. Now, what's in here?
Is this a shortcut? I can just take myself to Snoke if you've got errands to run.
Feels like we've been chasing the Resistance forever.
Is this something that villains can do? Why? Hello, this is Editor Me. I'm going to spare you the diatribe and just say that this is the Porgs doing. All these stormtroopers going haywire and just causing all this mayhem, that's all the Porgs' fault. I didn't realize this until after the fact. I don't know how I didn't notice until now, but you gotta be kidding me.
Another detour.
Must you comment on everything we do?
Now we can head to Snoke, right?
We will see the Supreme Leader in due time.
We will see the Supreme Leader in due time. Then, when we touched hands, I saw your future. Just the shape of it. You will not bow before Snoke. You'll turn. I'll help you.
I'm sorry, I got blindsided by the whole, when we touch hands, I saw your future. That sounds oddly romantic. Why are you turning on me? This entire episode run through is just chaos and a half. Okay, quadruple check. Recording. Mic is on.
You can explain to the Supreme Leader why you destroyed our future.
How is that my fault?
Bias aside, this has to be one of the funniest parts of the game. This entire episode just been jokes from start to finish, and I'm all for it. All right, how do they adapt this scene? Because this is gonna be a lot. The Porg is there. Get him, Porg. They're acting like they would in canon, just letting one person fight at a time, and if they get too close, they back away, just like the errors. Yeah, Porg.
Right. You doing okay?
Come on, Porg. Get him. Yes, my child. Get him. Oh, yeah, I guess just be talking about the moment as well, since there's not too much going on. Get him. What are you doing here? This isn't your moment. Yeah, this was an excellent moment in the film. For all the subversiveness people clown on this movie for, I think this was a fun misdirect, one of the good ones. And sure, you killed off the main villain, but I'm gonna be real, was Snoke really that cool? So yeah, no, Rey and Kylo's arc, I just think is great. Rey's motive finally gets expanded upon a tiny bit, where again, she wants to just learn about the Force because, hey, it's a part of her that didn't exist and whatnot. This is not the droid you're looking for. Why can't I enter this space? I don't know if you can see it or notice what I'm doing, but yeah, no, I can't run in this direction, but if I jump, huh. Just keep running, just keep running. Can I sneak? I can sneak it! You didn't see anything. Don't worry. He did not suspect a thing.
Quick! That trooper's coming back.
Who's coming back? There's nobody there, Finn. Okay, you know what? That's pretty cool. Come and get it. Now, how do I feel about Finn defeating Phasma? I never considered Phasma to be too threatening, if I'm being honest. She really doesn't have any major actions in The Force Awakens to really label her as much of a threat. So I don't mind Finn defeating her. Now, is there no build-up to it? Yeah, I do agree Phasma should have stayed till Rise of Skywalker, but I just don't think she was ever that much of a threat, if I'm being honest. People say she got defeated too early, but like, she kind of just got punked in the first movie. I think The Force Awakens was a worse show than the year, if I'm being honest. She gets caught by Finn, Han, and Chewie and just gives up the codes instantly. What a loyal First Order soldier she is.
Rose? Where did Rose go?
I guess Finn's alone for this part, which makes sense, but why did Rose just get over the gap and then immediately disintegrate from this realm of existence? Oh no, Rose is back. So she just went over a gap in the cutscene, instantaneously disappeared to where she came from, and then is just back for some reason.
You're a bug in the system.
Get him, Porg.
Weak.
Come on, Porg. Wait a minute, this is literally a Family Guy gag. What are you I enjoyed the crate scenes a lot. I think crate was a fun way to conclude everything. It comes together with Poe truly needing to be a leader and realize going straight ahead isn't good, so he calls everyone back. Finn really wants to lay it all down for the Resistance. He's truly not caring about himself in the moment. Though that specific instance, we'll have to talk more about that kiss. I seem to have been defending / criticizing this movie a lot, but like that's the one thing where I'm like, that was a bit of a... Probably one of the biggest misses in the movie was that kiss, but... Fun battle. My battle with Crate was cool.
Pull away!
Oh, there. Oh. I will admit, very big missed opportunity that Oh, don't attack. You just have to. Ooh, I like that. That's a nice subversion of the general gameplay. Rian Johnson, you've done it again. This implies that the Porg is also a ghost. Why does Hux not have a portrait? Okay, this is pretty funny though. Even though I haven't completed yet already, it still could be fun. This is a big missed opportunity. I feel like they could have easily done the Battle of Crate and then ended off with this. This would have been a fun level otherwise.
I will not be the last Jedi.
Learn some new...
The game just cut itself off. Okay. That to me is an excellent ending for Luke. Him force projecting himself and just doing all this crazy stuff. Because he gets to be the legend in the end. The living lit. Why does that dog have a piece of dynamite in its mouth? I guess since the Battle of Crate got completely skipped, I have to go over Finn and Rose's defining moment, which for the record, if you haven't seen the movie before, the original scene was that Finn was trying to make a sacrificial play to stop the cannon, but then Rose smashes his ship out of the way to save them both. That scene makes sense on paper. The whole point is to basically mimic what Poe was trying to do at the beginning, but then Poe, who's on the sidelines, is trying to tell Finn, hey, I did this before, don't do it, don't make the same mistake I did, especially since it would have cost Finn his life. And I think that Finn realistically would have gotten blown away. He wouldn't have made it in time. I believe the ship would have been completely destroyed. So Rose saving him is technically the best thing to do here. I just think the speech she kind of gave after, about saving what we love, That's what he's doing. I think she should have just said something to the degree of like, hey, it's good that you want to help us, but you're, you know, don't do it at your own expense, whatever. You could easily fit a message about how every man matters. Don't make a sacrificial play like that. Wait, is Chewie reading the Jedi text? That's amazing. Wait, is that that's a Solo reference?
Luke is gone.
I didn't think they had it in them.
I felt it.
Ow. I felt it too.
If I had to describe this episode in one word, chaotic. Whether it be because of how the humor was done, how the story is laid out, or just whatever shenanigans I got up to, this episode was chaotic in the best way possible. I had mostly a greater time. I truly wish I didn't get messed up that time, though. Alrighty. Well, I've had enough fun of that. Let me go to free play to give my final thoughts. So, what have we learned from today? If there's one thing you need to learn from today, always make sure you quintuple check to see if your mic is on and your game is recording. I'll start with the 3 leads since they're the easiest. Rey, I think she gets a few genuine moments here to kind of show her empathetic side and how she wants to help Kylo in spite of him committing patricide. And she does explore who she wants to be, and it turns out to be no one, which kind of gets retconned. I don't know. I always found Rey being a nobody to be more interesting, because we've already had the Skywalkers, right? Having more Skywalkers or Kenobis, it makes the characters it stems from more interesting. It doesn't make the cast it spawns inherently interesting. The biggest comparison I have for the sequel trilogy at this point is actually The Legend of Korra. What they both fail to do is kind of divorce themselves from the original characters, I think, and properly characterize the new ones in a satisfying way. If you were to ask a lot of people about the best characters in Korra, they would probably say the children of the original Avatar gang. Not many people will say Korra, not many people will say Mako, Bolin, or Sami. Even though the show does have its moments that Avatar doesn't, it falls flat for a lot of people because it's unable to divorce itself from its original identity and carry much weight for the new characters. Same thing happens here in the sequel trilogy. To what extent? I think it's less so. Whatever the sequel trilogy's problem is not the same as Korra's, because I think the sequel trilogy does start with interesting characters and tries to do some interesting stuff with it. They just fail miserably. Ironically, because once again, they don't have everything planned out. While Korra is because Nickelodeon refused to renew the show until they already had a story settled, so they just kind of have to keep starting from step one. Oh yeah, they did mention that she had a sister who died in this film. They just completely ignored that part of Rose. But yeah, that's always kind of been something I noticed the sequel trilogy falls into the same pitfall of. But that's the reason why I was so happy that they said, hey, Rey's our own original character. She will be a heroine who isn't completely connected to a lineage. And then she was made a Palpatine. That's the whole thing for Rise of Skywalker. But for now, though, I think she is great, and it does expand upon her motive, which I think was the one thing missing from her in The Force Awakens past, like, the start of just Takadana. As for Poe needed the arc of being able to be a leader while also realizing, because he can't be a hotshot and keep making reckless decisions, because it does almost get him and the entire resistance jeopardized. But again, that entire arc with him and Holdo could have been a bit better, because Rian Johnson introduced the proper idea of court-martialing and fuel running low on ships. Or maybe it probably exists in some other Star Wars media, but again, it tries to be a bit more realistic in its approach, and it works to its detriment. I don't think that arc was the worst. My favorite? No. Hello, Porg. His ending makes sense. He is a better leader for it. And then Finn. I said it before, I'll say it again. Finn only cared about Rey at the beginning of the Last Jedi because it was set up at the end of The Force Awakens. He clearly cares for others, but he was always focused on Rey. So I think him being in this is more because... I don't want to blame The Force Awakens, because I just definitely think it was the precedent, He needed to learn to really be there for the rebellion and not just Rey. So he needed to go on this adventure with Rose. It may have just not been the best conclusion, because again, it doesn't do the best job differentiating itself from the original arc in The Force Awakens as much. Though I do think there's a distinction. Him killing Phasma, I'm kind of indifferent to, because again, I didn't care much for Phasma. It kind of all falls apart when he goes for the canon, because he wants to make a noble sacrifice. he is reminded that he shouldn't sacrifice himself in such a foolhardy way, because all he would have done is stall for a little bit of time because they didn't have a proper exit strategy and they only escape by the skin of their teeth. I still do like Finn's arc in this film. I will defend it, but I won't pretend like I don't see why people dislike it. But so those are our three main leads. Let's go on to the people who matter. I'll start with Kylo. I definitely was dismissive of him in The Force Awakens. He's a lot better here, but I still don't have much for him to say. He's a good execution of the trope he's going for. You know, I think it's more, I just don't have much to say on his character because I think it speaks for itself, but I definitely do enjoy his character more here and the dilemma he has to grapple with. Again, Rose, a character who is necessary, but implemented in kind of a very imperfect way. She could have been a good confidant for Finn. I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but 9 times out of 10, if there is a love triangle in fiction, it is never good. This is one of the less egregious ones simply because there is not a lot of contrived points. It's just, Rose could have probably been expanded upon more in The Rise of Skywalker, but we all know how that turned out. And then Luke. I really do like Luke in this film. I never had this perception of him being this super god that I see a lot of people clamor him to be. That Luke may have existed, but to me, he never did. Mainly because I only know him through the movies. And in the movies, he was portrayed as a reckless, albeit optimistic and well-meaning man. It makes sense for him to kind of have this moment where he does the same thing as he does to Vader in Return of the Jedi, where he accidentally goes for Kylo and then has to pay the price of all of his life's work crumbling on him. I do think they treated him with respect in this film. It's kind of like an inverse of Yoda and Obi-Wan in some way. For some more tertiary/secondary characters, Leia is a very awkward character to talk about in the sequel films because of Carrie Fisher's passing. I said she didn't have much to do there. I think they tried doing something interesting with her here, but she's still kind of just not there for most of the film. She has a little more agency simply because she's out of the film, I guess. DJ, I'm be real, I don't know what they were cooking. He works, but is he memorable? Funny? I don't know. He still just kind of was a there and gone character. That's really all the characters. I do think the plot is good overall. Obviously, if you don't like it and how it executes it, it's fine. I have my general complaints. And then the action, definitely more sparse action. I definitely feel the action is more front-loaded and back-ended compared to just The Force Awakens, where I think it was just great action throughout, at least based on what I remember. Did that dude just do the screwdriver before just getting murked? Okay. And for how Lego adapted this has to be probably one of my favorite adaptations of a Star Wars episode yet, to be honest. It's just consistently funny. It definitely skips around a few things. Why is Finn getting stuck on everything? I definitely do feel like they skipped along a couple of important lines. Finn doesn't truly get closure in this version. I do not like the Battle of Crate being a bridge because that was probably one of the best parts of the movie. If it wasn't obvious though, I was a bit more preachy in the beginning, but I was never a part of the hate train for this movie. Generally, if you're harassing the actors or Rian Johnson over this, like, please get over yourself and find something better to do. I still think Star Wars had some steam in it left. I liked Solo, it came after it, and after Rise of Skywalker, I stopped caring for Star Wars because I just realized it wasn't for me, and I thought, well, the saga is complete again. And look, if you still want to stay with the Star Wars franchise or community because you want to see it be better in the future, or you just want to, bring it back to its heyday, I think going the approach of the Clone Wars is the best approach, because say what you will about the sequel trilogy, they've been created. You can't just wipe them off the face of the earth and make everyone forget. That just isn't how reality works. If you make the connective tissue a lot better, it can at least cushion the impact that the movies themselves could have done. The sequels now aren't praised because we all realize George's vision for the prequels. No, it's because the Clone Wars slaps and, in a way, soften the blow anything that the movies could have done for anything. Anakin and Padme's really crazy relationship in the movies expanded upon the Clone Wars to be a lot more messy. The Jedi Council being more morally gray / hypocritical, it's there. Just to pretend the sequels don't exist and then just throwing it in with something else, honestly, you can do better than that. There's clearly stories to be told with these worlds, with these characters, and I just think we haven't really given them enough time in our minds, because based on my opinions when I first watched these, I kind of liked The Force Awakens, I loved The Last Jedi, but then I did not like Rise of Skywalker at all. I don't want Rise of Skywalker to be forgotten. I want it to just make sense in retrospect. It's a long ways off with the internet being more prevalent than ever, it's not going to be as easy to have people willing to make extended media or give the new cast of characters a chance. It's clear that not everyone dislikes this film just because they disagree with the ideas. It's the fact that this trilogy wasn't spawned out of creativity, but more out of the want to make money. And I can definitely see the annoyance towards that, but I still think it's a better perspective to take what's bad and make something good out of it instead of just pretending it's bad, throwing it to the curb, dousing it in gasoline and lighting it on fire. I think I've said enough about The Last Jedi. I'm gonna go rewatch it, but in the meantime, whether you agree or disagree with me, to each their own. But hey, at the end of the day, I don't watch Star Wars much anymore. I just play the Lego games to remember everything. Hello, I just finished rewatching The Last Jedi, and I'm going to be recapping some of my notes, specifically my thoughts that have changed between the gameplay and now. So, to start with the plot, even though I came off as a bit critical throughout the video, I really did love this plot. What a lot of people have to keep in mind is that The Force Awakens ended on a cliffhanger. The Last Jedi, or at least some of its framing devices, had to be led like this, and I think Rian Johnson did a great job. I know I put a big thing onto the fuel, but like, the fuel problem actually creates a bit of tension. Because, sure, the Resistance is being tracked through hyperspace, though they could easily just stall out the First Order if they were simply just being tracked through hyperspace. They needed more tension, and I think fuel is the correct way to do it. Now, they could have just been like, oh, systems are failing, blah, blah, blah. That's a semantical thing. I don't really think much would change under those circumstances. So, yeah, and I think this movie's messaging is really good as well, except for the whole heroes and leaders thing, which I'll talk about later. I want to put special mention onto the writing next, because the writing, specifically its humor, this film gets flogged for on the daily. Some big moments include, Poe doing a Yo Mama joke to Hux, and Luke throwing a lightsaber, and I think in some cases it works, or it gets the point across if it's done crudely. Like, for example, Luke throwing the lightsaber, yeah, sure, it's completely out of character, but that's the entire point that Ryan's trying to convey. The Luke we know would never throw the lightsaber. That shows how far gone he really is. And I think when it's a pretty bad, or like a bad joke that sticks out, like the Mama Hux thing, it doesn't really linger or overstay its welcome, in my opinion. So, for all the bad jokes, they're at least paced well and kind of just are kind of there and gone, so it doesn't really detract much from the actual story. As for the characters I wanted to revise, I actually have to go back to the Canto Bight gang of Finn, Rose, and DJ, primarily the latter two. So, for Rose, in retrospect, I actually really get what they were going for with Rose this time around. And it all kind of revolves around the crux of her speech at the end when she saves Finn. I think the message of, saving what we love doesn't really make too much sense for Finn, but for Rose, it makes all the sense, because you have to keep in mind, I said before, the Battle of Crate sort of is supposed to mirror the beginning where Poe makes a sacrificial play that gets a lot of people killed. One of the people killed in that fight was Rose's sister, probably her closest friend ever, I imagine. In a way, she kind of was making sure that doesn't happen to someone she loves again, in this case being Finn. Now, does it have to be a romantic love? I still think that shouldn't have happened, but the sentiment is still there, where she needed to really make sure whatever happened doesn't happen for a second time, especially to someone who has done such a lot for the Resistance with what happened on Starkiller Base. And with the whole thing about anger, it makes sense, because throughout Canto Bight, she was shown to be a lot angrier, which is a very big departure from the fangirl we see at the beginning. So I think it all culminates well and perfectly explains why she did. So I really like what this does for her and what Canto Bight does for Rose. And I think on Finn's side, because I think Canto Bight was a little bit of a weird thing to base his entire development off of, but then I kind of realized it isn't. DJ is supposed to be where Finn's character growth really stems from. Because DJ, in a way, is kind of the anti-Finn. Because Finn is, even though I claimed he was kind of selfish and only really cared for himself and Rey, he still did good acts along the way. He wasn't necessarily, like, negligent towards other people or wasn't caring. It's just his overall ambitions and mindset were in the wrong direction. DJ is just kind of the more apathetic, more greedy version of Finn that Rose would probably think he is, because DJ only cares about money. He will do anything to save his own skin. And it kind of is a bad reflection of what Finn could have been if he really went down a more bad route instead of helping out Poe in The Force Awakens. And in a way, helps kind of Finn challenge what he's doing for real, and kind of helps reaffirm that, yeah, no, even if some of these bad parts about war exist and the stakes and tolls that eventually will happen, he will still choose to fight for the greater fight. I think that's pretty good arc for him, and I think DJ serves his purpose really well in that regard. He's still not my favorite character, but I think he does a better job than I originally gave him credit for. And then Holdo and Poe. This is the only real part of the movie that I think drags or is like the main con I have, because Holdo specifically, she is so the message for this movie is all considering Poe and Holdo is all about leaders and heroes and what it means to be either one of them. And I think that's where all the messaging really gets lost, in my opinion, and fumbles, because they're trying to portray Poe as a hero. You know, hotshot, will do anything. He's multi-talented. He can shoot stuff out of the sky with a blink of an eye. I think when they're trying to reel him back and use Holdo as a juxtaposition, they really didn't make Holdo be kind of the best contrast to Poe, because she is meant to be a leader for the Resistance, and I think leaders, even though leaders don't necessarily have to always be the most charismatic or, you know, something of that type, she really doesn't inspire confidence from many people, and kind of is just mean to Poe until she isn't when she meets up with Leia, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And while I think it works okay in the context of Poe needing some sort of antagonism in his plotline, it kind of jeopardizes the believability of the situation, because how is Holdo supposed to be portrayed as a leader when she doesn't tell anyone information, and at the very least doesn't inspire courage, even if you were to take into account, yes, these people were about to get blasted out of the sky. It just doesn't work. And I just think if they reeled back her antagonism, or at least gave her a little more urgency and time, I think she would have done her job a lot better. But yeah, no, Leia basically saying, oh, she doesn't play the theatrics, she doesn't do that. It's like, no, leaders and heroes can kind of merge into one another definition-wise and how they are executed. I just don't think Holdo is either, and I think if she was either, again, reeled back on antagonism, or if they wanted to make her more antagonistic as to how Poe is better than her, or is kind of a reflection of what he shouldn't be as a leader, I don't know, it could have worked a bit better. But that's truly my only real gripe with this plot line and whatnot. I think most other things I've talked about in length. The only thing I want to go into, though, has to kind of be the hate this movie gets, because this movie gets, I want to say, some of the most hate out of the entire trilogy, or at least vocal, because I think a lot of people will say, oh, The Rise of Skywalker is bad, and I think anyone who watches it will kind of come to the same conclusion as to why. But The Last Jedi in particular gets a lot of hate, though granted, this could be my recommendations messing with me here, but let me just say that a lot of the misinformation about this film kind of affected my perception of this film. I thought this movie was 3 hours long, when in reality it's 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is about 10 minutes longer than the average Star Wars flick. And obviously, it technically is closer to 3 hours, but come on, let's be realistic here. Now, obviously, that may not be what everyone means. Some people are just saying it may feel too long, blah, blah, blah. And that's a genuine criticism, you know, about the pacing and the lack of action or whatever. But I wanted to point that out. And then secondly, the amount of interviews people put out there to kind of smear this movie is astonishingly big. Because, you know, they'll bring up either some of the actors having problems with the film, or Rian Johnson himself saying something like, I can't think of it right now, but I'm sure people who've seen the interviews will know what I mean, to kind of smear The Last Jedi. And the way these interviews are framed, they're either the worst possible scenario, or were kind of statements that were elaborated on / taken back later. Now, obviously, whoever had these critical thoughts can still have them personally, and you know, I'm not here to say that the actors or the crew themselves, their opinions don't matter, but it's like, I hate when people take these people who worked on the film to kind of strawman them into their argument of why this movie is bad. And you can dislike being a part of something and that product still be good. I think Shrek is the biggest example. For the first Shrek, from what I've read, a lot of people did not take this movie seriously and did not like it, at least when making it. And for all that was, Shrek 1 became a cultural phenomenon and spawned how many sequels and spinoffs? So it's kind of a straw man at best, and I really want people to stop using those sort of excuses to prop up their arguments, because it doesn't mean much at all. I'm just saying. But I think I've said enough about The Last Jedi. I still really do love this film years after release, and I definitely do think it'll stick out in my mind much more compared to the other films in this franchise. So until next time, We will be concluding the sequel trilogy with The Rise of Skywalker, but for now, The Last Jedi gets an 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5 stars, etc., etc. So yeah, see you then.